All right. So I am Brent Leary.
I am Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and we're not in Vegas.
Oh, wait a minute. You sure?
I kind of think. Well, today we're not in Vegas. Don't ask me about Monday because I'll be back in Vegas. So.
Well, luckily, actually, I won't be, but my heart and head are still there. But I mean, I literally left my head there. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, good. I thought, is this a Tony Bennett reference? Did you leave your heart there too with your head, or Anyway, okay. Yes, we are the CRM Players, and this is kind of a special Friday afternoon edition of the CRM Players. And what really makes it special is not because it's Friday, but it's Meredith Schmidt Day on CRM Players. There she is. Meredith Schmidt. She basically is the CEO of Salesforce Essentials, the brand that Salesforce has specifically for the SMB folks. The SMB folks get a CEO of their own at Salesforce. How about that?
Hallelujah.
Wow. It's religious.
Well, first of all, thank you for joining us. This is great.
Well, thank you. And I was going to say your heart could be here too in San Francisco. I can't show you the view because of the glare, but we have the Golden Gate Bridge right behind us right now, which is pretty awesome on the 61st floor of the tower, reporting live.
As the fog rolls in.
As the fog is rolling in on a normal Friday night.
Well, you know what? I guess that was about 3 weeks ago, thereabouts. I was in that very same position, saw that very same view. The very same fog was rolling in, but the sun was still out. It was quite the view to see, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Wait, you have night fog?
It comes in the morning and it comes in at night.
That has something to do with Grundelwald. I know that.
Oh, hey.
Wow.
I actually know what you're talking about, yeah.
I know.
Alrighty now. Okay.
Harry Potter fan here, I guess.
Yeah, I'm more of an old school Lord of the Rings guy.
Oh, I would put that first. I'm with you, actually.
All right.
See, I'm so old school. I'm Flash Gordon. How's that?
Wow. With that old school Ming the Merciless dude. That's
right. One of my, and then that later became the absolutely racist book by Sax Rohmer called Fu Manchu.
Really? See?
Oh, those were big hits.
I didn't even know about that. But,
I did not either.
Okay.
That's what happens when you're my age.
Right.
All right. So we were originally hoping to do this with all of us on the 61st floor, but it couldn't work out. So we're glad that we could do this way and talk a little bit about Salesforce at 20 years old, and mainly because you've seen a lot of those years, 14 of those years.
I have. 14 years is a long time. 20 years is even longer. I honestly cannot believe 14 years later, the company I joined, we are about 600 employees at the time. If you told me we'd be sitting in a Salesforce tower in downtown San Francisco 14 years ago, I would have rolled my eyes at you, laughed at you, and would never have put a dollar bet on that, talking about Vegas. I needed a job. I was at PeopleSoft. I was like, oh, this little company, Salesforce, just started, just went public. Hey, sounds good. $300 million of revenue at the time. And, fast forward 14 years, over 13 billion. Sitting here today is just incredible for me personally, but I think the company too. And I just look back 20 years about who we are, and so much of who we are hasn't changed. Even though I'm sitting in this tower, maybe Mark actually envisioned the tower 20 years ago. I think most of us wouldn't have. But I think the heart and soul is still who we are. And it's the culture of Salesforce. It's the people here. It's the family we've built together over 20 years. And that to me is what's so special about the 20-year anniversary, is how many people have done it together and are still here doing it together. And I think it comes back to small business. Right? When we started 20 years ago, it was about creating a different model, right? How can we make software and technology as easy to use as Amazon, which back then was only selling books, by the way. But it was about democratizing software, making it available to everybody. And, rightfully, as we grew over 20 years, our customers grew. But we started a small business. We were ourselves a small business building product for small business. And again, easy to use. And that's why me taking on this role really, as a CEO for small business at Salesforce, it is incredible to be able to take everything we've learned from the beginning of time of 20 years and really show our community that we are committed 100% to small business and making it easy to use. And, I think we've never lost it, but maybe we can reinvigorate it a bit. And that's really my role that I'm excited about, is being able to be part of this team where we've created a business unit, not just a product. We've got marketing, we've got sales, we've got customer success, all focused on small business and rethinking how we support and build product for our customers.
So I got two questions for you.
Okay.
First one, when you joined,
yes,
what did you join as?
Very good question. So I joined as a party of one, I like to say. It was just me, myself, and I. But I was hired to create our revenue department under our CFO. So my first desk was outside of the president of sales office. And the job I had was basically go make sales love finance. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? But it was basically bridging that gap of how do I really understand our customer needs and how do we do the right thing for the business, both from a sales perspective, but also as a company who had just gone public, we needed the right kind of controls over revenue. So it was a balance. And I think it was kind of when I first got exposed to, small business, right? And different needs around the small business versus an enterprise customer. Because it was right around the time we were starting to see our first enterprise customer was when I joined.
So you said that you were PeopleSoft, and I used to deal with them a lot. And in fact, I was a partner. And I loved that culture. It still competes for one of the greatest cultures I've ever run across in my life. You're at Salesforce, which, according to many, and me included, has a great culture. In fact, I can speak to multiple employees who tell me that. But, PeopleSoft's culture, for example, is kind of legendary now. Salesforce is still around, so it's not totally legendary really yet, because it can't be. If it's around, it's hard to be a legend, right?
In other words, you can't put it in the Hall of Fame yet because it's
not yet.
5 year separation.
For a very long time.
So both cultures are great. What were some of the differences? And I'm not saying better or worse. I'm literally saying the differences.
I've never been asked that question, first of all, so that's a good question.
You haven't.
I was at PeopleSoft for about 5 years, and I think the thing that I noticed right away was the family, right? When Dave Duffield would send an email out to the team, it was signed Dad, which was actually his initials, but it was very indicative of how he treated every employee was as his children. And you saw that in the events we did. We were based out of Pleasanton, so different location, which is about 30 minutes outside outside of San Francisco. The energy was a little different, and it was very family oriented. But I think that was what was really special, is that, as we held events, as we did things, Dave was always there, and all the founders, but he still played an active role. And things changed, right? When I got along, Dave was stepping down from being full-time CEO.
Craig Conway.
Yes, Craig Conway, who's on our board now, so that's also ironic. And ironically, the woman I worked for at my boss at PeopleSoft was Robin Washington, who's also on our board. So it all kind of came full circle. I joined Salesforce before either of them joined the board, actually, so I came first.
But by the way, I think that might have been Dave calling to see if he would help.
Yeah.
Well, it actually said Department of State.
Oh, don't answer that.
Yeah, we don't want that one.
What have you done? But I think about the culture at Salesforce. I would say family, but it's a little different. I don't think Mark sees us as his children, where Dave really took that. Like, really, I'm Dad. But Mark sees us as family, right? And Mark would do anything for any one of us employees. And I think the employees feel the exact same way. And so you see that permeation of the we call it Ohana, It's our Hawaiian word for family, but I think it's tried and true. I do think the differences, though, really are early on. I can tell you the first thing I noticed was just because of where we were located, right? Pleasanton versus downtown San Francisco brings a different culture in, brings a different vibe in, right? There was definitely, and maybe because we were more of a startup, years ago, when I started, it was just the vibe was different, right? You had young folks running around, making dreams and I think it was still happening, but it was much later when I joined PeopleSoft. So that was a difference. Had I joined PeopleSoft probably earlier, I would have seen the same thing maybe. But I think that even if I look at it today, when I started, I think the average age was like 26 years old. I think the average age is still like 31. So it's not like we're much older. So it's a really young company, right? I mean, so I think that's a big difference in the change in culture is, activism, I think, values, when we think about the value of equality, that's something we added, 4 or 5 years ago. But I think it was also driven by a lot of the employees in thinking about inclusion and how do we look across all everything, I would say. I think that's changed a lot too. And just that's the sign of the times. And I'm glad Salesforce is leading the way.
All right. I have a question. What has been maybe take us behind the scenes? What's something about Salesforce that's happened over the course of your time there, at least, that maybe most people aren't aware of that would be like, wow, we didn't know about that.
Oh, huh. Brent. I mean, I think there's nothing scandalous. You're not going to get anything out of that from me. Sorry.
All right, then skip the question. No, I'm just kidding.
I got nothing juicy. But I think that we are a company that values innovation and speed, and we move fast. And I think that what I've seen too, and I think this is kind of the growing pains we've had is things do slow down, right? And in the speed at which we want to actually make things happen. When I think about it internally, like you see all of the amazing results. I think we could go faster, right? And I think there's a lot of, as we hire bigger departments, a lot of people have opinions, let's just say. And I think there's, decision-making changes, right? It's not just two people in a room making a decision. There's more parties involved. You got to think about the customer ecosystem, the impact across all of these departments, and all of us have the customer in the center of everything we're deciding. But we all have a little bit of a different lens to it, right? And so I think it's how we make decisions and the speed at which we can execute for all the right reasons. I think we have slowed down in some ways. And I think that's kind of the cost of getting big so fast. We do still move faster than I think most people would think we could at this size and speed. I mean, we can change in the drop of a hat. If we want to change our messaging, if we want to develop a product, if we want to launch a new product, I mean, we are amazing at going fast. But I also see just how decision making has changed as we've grown up and become a bigger company.
Okay, so let's shift a little to CRM Essentials.
Wait a minute.
So
CRM Essentials? That's
that's what we're going to talk about, Brent. Right.
Salesforce Essentials.
Salesforce Essentials.
Thank you.
Look at that, man. See that? No, it's Brent's company. I actually want to talk to him. You can just ask the questions. So you spent a lot of years. Initially, we're small business. I used you in 1999. There's actually very funny stories about that, which we don't have time to repeat since I've repeated them multiple times. But it's how Mark and I got acquainted. Let's just say that by my skepticism about it. But you've had several other small business products, which you've sunsetted them. You've let them kind of fade away. You've done other things with them. Yet, you always had people who could handle it. That was never an issue. You have people who know how to do it. Mm-hmm. So what is the difference between what you've done in the past and what you're doing now? I mean, I will say this, just more from buzz than anything else. A lot more people seem to like this than any other small business product you've had in the past. They're more comfortable with the idea of what you're doing, and they seem to appreciate the let's say, the capability and the price point. So I've heard that. I've heard enough of that to say, right. That's as far as I can go. But so tell me the difference, and then Brent, you tell me the difference between that and sales and CRM Essentials.
Well, great. I'm glad you're getting that feedback, first of all. So thank you for that. I think two things. First is building on the platform, right? And the power of the platform itself is a big difference between some of the things we've tried in the past. With some of the acquisitions we've made, we've had this great small business product, but at some point, just like any product, you outgrow it and you have to move, and there's a cost of switching. And that's what we really were looking at with the acquisition strategy we had. And it was whether do we build and rebuild those products on our platform, or do we actually build a product and take a different approach to it? And the approach we really wanted to take was a single product, right? We sell sales, we sell service. In small business, I call that customer support. But we wanted to make that one product. Right now, if you look at Salesforce, those are clouds, but we're like, no, you get both for $25. And it was about making it easy. And so how do you actually so what we had, was a customer support acquisition, and we had a separate sales acquisition. The idea was, let's not try to integrate those together and put them onto the platform. Let's actually build a product based on the platform that allows you to grow when you're ready to grow. But we start with a very simple, only what you need functionality. And we've been spending time, honestly, fixing things that have been, I won't say wrong. I do joke with Parker Harris. I'm like, I'm fixing the things that you broke 20 years ago. But just simple things like, how do I do data import, right? The data import wizards we use are 20 years old. I'm fixing those things. You're laughing. I know, because it was a pain.
No, wait, I got to tell you this. I really do have to stop this. You just hit it right in the I used Salesforce in 1999.
Yeah. Okay,
literally year one. And the reason I dumped it and publicly said something about it was that it was data export. Like, I would export CSV files, and they would export as text files. And when I export a text file, it would export as a CSV file. And so when you said data import, I mean, I think, data export. I mean, really import and export don't ever go into that business. Right.
Right. Nobody's ever happy with it, but it's interesting, right? Just like things like how we do trial signups we haven't fixed in 20 years or changed. And so, we're looking at some of the real basics like setup, making setup super simple. So when you start with essentials, it doesn't matter if I actually encourage even our enterprise customers to start a trial in essentials because of how we do the setup with you, how we do the imports changing and making it super simple. So, building on the platform not just allows our customers to grow with Salesforce as they grow when they're ready to grow, but it allows actually what we're doing with the product to impact all products and all users and all, we don't have admins for our business. But as I've talked to customers in other editions, they're like, oh my gosh, are you going to fix that for me too? And the answer is yes, right? Things we're doing and things we're doing and learning from our customers about being simple and easy to use, we get to put everywhere. And that's what gets it really exciting for our product team is, I get the innovation that they build when it's appropriate, right? Einstein Voice is a great example. We get that for free. Like, that's an amazing piece of technology I get for free to put to our small customers, but I also get to give back, right? And give back the ease of use to all of our customers. So I think that's a big difference in why we've really taken the platform strategy. And I think the second thing quickly is just really forming a business unit around this, right? We said this is not just a product. And that is the first time we've ever done this organically at Salesforce. We've done it through acquisition. But what we've done is we've really taken a group of people from around the business. So we have marketing reporting to me. We have product reporting to me. We have customer success, strategy and operations. I have a head of partnerships now that are just working on partnerships for essentials. I've got now a sales team reporting into me. And we're looking at actually beyond just the essentials product, I'm looking at the 1 to 20 space. And thinking about how can I influence all products and make all products easier and learn from that sales team and how do we change a model? What's our go-to-market model for the small business? not just essentials. So we're really looking at this holistically, but looking at it really different with a dedicated business unit of all functions who sit together on the same floor, who can talk every day, who are talking to the customer and saying, what does the customer want? We can turn around and tell the product team, we need to build this next. So I think that's a big difference too, is really investing and doubling down as a business unit standalone from the rest of the company.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So I have a sort of semi-loaded question here.
Can't wait.
Well, sort of. I mean, you don't have to answer if you don't want. It's not like dramatic or anything, but I just make it more dramatic than it really is. So you have a lot of Salesforce customers. Well, no, let me rephrase that. You have a number of Salesforce customers that seems to be a reasonable number that are small businesses who are using kind of the full suite, and that's not the full suite, but they're using the main product.
Sure.
Because they didn't have any ability they didn't have you, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a program to allow them, if they need to transition from the larger package? Because you see why it's semi-loaded question,
yeah.
right? So, to Salesforce Essentials.
I'll answer it honestly, no. Right. It was one of the way we architected the product is as you move up in edition, you actually can't downgrade editions. You lose data. So I would say certainly open to a program. It could potentially be a lot of work to export the data and then re-import the data. But I think I talked to a customer actually 2 days ago. We were doing an event in Northern California about rebuilding right after the fires and now most recently the floods. How do we really focus on small business and helping small business up in Northern California in our backyard? And I talked to one customer who's actually now a former customer who said the exact same thing. I was using Enterprise Edition. I did too much. I didn't know what to do with it. They left, found some other thing. They don't really like it. And he was like, I am so excited to hear about Salesforce Essentials that when my contract's up in a year, I'm going to come back. And I gave him my phone number. I gave him my card. I'm like, call me and come back and we'll help you. So he's excited to come back. He sees the potential of it. But to answer your question bluntly, no, we don't have a program, but I think we're going to see this need coming. And I certainly want to help every one of those folks get to the product they want to use. And, if I can deal with it with I will find ways to make it work for that customer.
Yeah, the reason I'm saying is
my way, apparently.
I actually heard that from one of your customers specifically. He was saying, and it was not like he was hostile or upset. He was just saying, I wish this product was around because this is actually what I need. What I have is way more than, and he says it's very expensive for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of it for them is just the cost.
Well, let's just tell you, I've got a mental note right now about going back to my team and how do I create a program upon renewal to help customers like this.
Okay.
All right. So
we can help. That's what we're here to do. We just want to make these small businesses get what they need and sell them what they need. And I think that's an important part of what we're doing is a product-driven sales model versus a sales-driven, right? Like I don't have people who are getting incented to make you buy the larger, more expensive version. We're making the product sell itself and get you what you need.
Okay. I got an even more pressing question. During the Salesforce Analyst Summit, they kicked it off with the video of Parker Harris. I think his father shot the video the day one of that they actually went in to look at the apartment/office building. It was really interesting stuff. Is there a Meredith Schmidt day one video from 14 years ago?
Oh my gosh. There's a Meredith Schmidt badge from 14 years ago, actually. That's 14 years old.
Wait, move it over to the right a little bit.
Wait,
there, perfect.
Whoa! What a sunny smile.
Yeah, it looks
that was
the
when
same.
I had so much ambition back then.
Like being the CEO of Salesforce Essentials isn't really that ambitious now.
No, not at all. No, I would have never answered the question 14 years ago that I'd be here today.
All right. So what about 20 years from now? We just celebrated the 20-year mark. Is Meredith Schmidt going to be celebrating the 34th year for her and the 40th year?
I mean, hopefully as a guest and not an employee. I hope to be retired and sipping cocktails on a beach happily.
After her Hall of Fame election.
Yeah. Yes. I think Salesforce will absolutely be as admired in 20 years from now as we are today. And that's what excites me about it. I think that the culture we're building, the products we're building, the mission we have about, I love what we talk about, making business help the state of the world, right? There's things that we can all do as we think about how we're advising our customers, how we're thinking about technology. It's not just the technology, it's about the people. And I think there's something really special in there as we think about the fourth industrial revolution, and Trailhead is actually really making a difference and thinking about, we have a customer I won't name, but as they're going through a project implementing us right now, they've noticed, oh my gosh, we're going to automate a number of jobs. We don't want to lay anybody off. And we sat down with them and, hey, let's upskill the employees. So we use Trailhead, which is, our learning platform, to really upskill an entire group of people at this customer and put them into new jobs.
That's awesome.
And that to me is, when I think about what we're doing, it's not just that customer, it's really looking at the workforce. We're working with nonprofits like Pep Up Tech in New York, who's doing the same thing. People are coming, or moms who want to come back into work are getting certified on Salesforce, using Trailhead and coming back into the workforce and really looking at what's the next career. And so I think about things like that. Like that to me was what I love to see. And I can't wait to see the impact we have in 20 years from now about how we help bring, the skills to the labor market and really upskill people who can continue to work in new ways.
All right. I think we ran out of time, but this was great. And awesome. I know you mentioned all the things that you hadn't foreseen 14 years ago when you started at Salesforce, like sitting at the tower and things like that.
Right.
But I
think I can actually see the first apartment right here. So,
but I'm going to go out on a limb and say, never in your wildest imagination did you think you'd be talking to two guys like us either.
Never. I mean, this was what I was hoping for.
All right.
Well, you weren't very ambitious, were you?
No, I told you I didn't have my hopes 14 years ago.
No, clearly.
Well, let's thank Meredith Schmidt for joining us. This has been one of the more fun Friday afternoons that the CRM Playaz has had in a while. So we appreciate you for joining us. And I guess there's only one thing left for me to say. I'm Brent Leary.
And I'm Paul Greenberg.
I guess that means I got one more thing to say then. We are the CRM Playaz.
And we are out.
Out of Vegas.
Thank God.